Hey guys, Meteorologist Chris Tomery here on this Tuesday. Very exciting period ahead with big time snow accumulation and several cold fronts riding this northwest flow. So the flow is coming right out of this direction and cruising down here. So whatever fronts are along it, they just get carried right in and they bump up against the mountain ranges. And we get some nice lift out of that. We've got colder air in place finally. So we've got the ingredients. Here's our latest front right here. You can see it coming out of cruising through Utah, Wyoming, down into Colorado. There's some additional energy behind it as well. And again, everything is just kind of sliding down this northwest flow. Let me take you into Colorado, and it's just starting to move in here across the western slope. You can kind of see it where that front might be. And that'll slowly work its way in today, and the snow will likely continue. And it will actually intensify tomorrow across a lot of Colorado. So let me take you into the satellite view, give you the big view down on everything. So here's water vapor. And where you see the whites and the blues, that's the action, that's the moisture in the mid-levels of the atmosphere. You can see the front essentially right here. So that's diving in. And again, you've got extra energy behind it, and then a lot of stuff coming out of the Pacific, which will take that right-hand turn and just curl down that northwest flow for the next 5 days. The bottom line is, guys, that this is going to be the biggest period, the biggest storm cycle we've seen so far of this season. I've got feet of accumulation in my 5-day forecast. This northwest flow, we've got bullseyes in Montana, Idaho, Wyoming. I'm looking at northern Utah and the Wasatch, and the central and northern mountains of Colorado with a lot of snow in the forecast. There's our current cold front. Next one, 12-4, 12-5. Number 3, 12-5, 12-6, 12-7. And then another one, a trailing one, potentially 12-7, 12-8. And then we'll get into a period of high pressure for at least a few days. Here are the best odds of accumulating snow. Colorado, Tahoe, Utah, Idaho, Wyoming, Montana, and interior BC. So for example, in Colorado, light to moderate accumulations today as that front comes through. And then moderate to heavy on 12-3 as that northwest flow amplifies and additional energy comes in. Light on 12-5, so 12-3, and then 12-5 is light. 12-6, 12-7 is moderate to heavy, and then moderate on 12-8. Guys, that is a really good stretch for especially the central and northern mountains of Colorado. I've got 1 to 2 feet of accumulation there. Nothing for Tahoe. Utah. This afternoon, tonight, tomorrow morning, light to moderate accumulations as that extra energy rotates in on the northwest flow. 12-4, afternoon, light. 12-5, 12-6, heavy. That looks to be quite significant. That's where I think a lot of the bulk of the accumulation is going to hit. And all my numbers have gone up for the Wasatch. As the confidence grows in this flow, that's what will happen. Then the morning of 12-7 is light as everything tails off. Up in Wyoming, light today. Afternoon, evening of 12-4, starting to ramp up, moderate accumulations. And then heavy, 12-5, 12-6, 12-7. That's when you'll pick up the bulk of your accumulation across the Tetons, Yellowstone, the Wind Rivers, Grand Targhee, Jackson Hole. Let me show you the forecast radar. So this is, we'll start this up at lunchtime today, Tuesday, December 2nd. Look what we've got. The front cutting right through Colorado. So snow continues there. Off and on snow showers in the Wasatch and up in the Tetons, Montana, and also parts of Utah or Idaho. So that's the second piece of energy. There's your first one. Let's move ahead. All right, so here's the dinner hour. There's 5 a.m. on Wednesday, December 3rd. So look what happens. Snow on the back edge in Utah, probably turning lighter. But look at Colorado. It has definitely intensified as that moves in and that energy slides in on the northwest flow. Potentially even accumulation for Denver. 1, 2, 3 inches, not out of the question there. Snow in the foothills, snow in the Continental Divide. Snow across a lot of I-70. All right, now let's move. There's lunchtime on Wednesday. Dinner hour, All right, here's 5 a.m. on Thursday, December 4th. Our next front is now moving in. There is the lunch hour on Thursday. Now it's effectively hitting the Tetons, Montana, central to northern Idaho, and it's on its way to the south. There's the dinner hour. By the dinner hour, we've already got snow developing across the Wasatch, the high Uintas, snowing in the Tetons, and just moving in to Colorado. All right, here's 5 a.m. on Friday, December 5th. You've got snow in Colorado, snow, Utah, and the next wave coming in to the Pacific Northwest. And guess what? That's moving in the same direction. Everything will just flow down that northwest flow into the interior Rockies. Time height forecast. This is Mount Werner. So Mount Werner, if you're not familiar, is up at Steamboats at the top of the Steamboat ski area. So this really gives you an extreme viewpoint, an extreme look at what's possible at the very edges, at the very extreme. So Mount Werner is actually one of my bullseyes. Steamboat's one of my bullseyes. With that northwest flow, it's just going to feed right into that area. And you can see it. We're looking at a slice through the atmosphere over the next 3 days. That's where we start. That's the current. And then you move into the future as you move in this direction. So you're looking for the green. I look for the green. That's your higher humidity. That's your moisture content. And all the air is being lifted on these surfaces. That's what they represent. Up into the atmosphere, over the ridge lines, the high peaks. A lot of green from right now, and it really thickens up this afternoon, all the way through the 3rd. Get a little bit of a break on the 4th. Moisture starts to deepen the afternoon of the 4th all the way into the 5th. So this is a pretty good forecast solution here. I mean, this is indicating the potential for heavy snow over the next 3 days up at Steamboat on the mountain, mid-mountain and higher. And this pattern's going to continue all the way through the upcoming weekend with additional waves of energy riding that northwest flow. Atmospheric pressure anomalies. So this is Wednesday, 12/3. There's our front. Low pressure coming in behind it to keep the snow going across the Rockies. Here's 12/6, Saturday. What I want to point out is this. Look at the atmospheric pressure anomalies. You see the bending and those ripples? That's the northwest flow with that energy riding that flow straight through the Intermountain West. And that's what you just love to see this time of the year. If it's cold enough, you love to see this. And then once we get out of this pattern, and this is 12/10, so this is holding. I've shown this the last 3 or 4 days. Higher pressures, higher than normal pressures move in. All the lower than normal pressures and cold air are out to the east. Now, I had a question from someone down at who's an instructor at Arizona Snow Bowl, because obviously you're going to be impacted by this. What happens after this? Beyond this holds on for at least a few days. Beyond this, there are signs that what you see up here, these drops in pressures up here, that's going to start to rotate to the south and come in and replace this area of high pressure as this kind of rotates out. So everything will just continue to rotate, and the next drop in pressures will come in after this period. Let's look at total precipitation over the next 5 days. So this takes us all the way through the rest of the week and through the upcoming weekend. And the flow is obvious. It's this northwest flow. And what I like to look for, this is as if everything fell as rain. I like to look for the yellows, the break point. That's about an inch of liquid. And wherever you see the yellow, you're almost guaranteed at least a foot of snow. And that's a lot of the central to northern mountains of Colorado, Utah, the Tetons, central to northern Idaho, Montana, the Pacific Northwest. So we're looking good in all of those areas. Let's do the same product, but let's change the vantage point to the southwest. 5-day total precip. The flow is mainly up in here. So Utah, Colorado. Some of that does make it into northern New Mexico, but not as much. 10-to-1 snow ratio. Pretty simple. Again, get you to the ballpark here. But anywhere you see the deep purple is at least 6 inches. The bright pink, and there's a lot of bright pink on this, that's at least a foot. So at least a foot, central to northern Idaho, a lot of Montana, Tetons, Yellowstone, the Wasatch, and a lot of Colorado, and of course the Pacific Northwest. Same map, same product, just different vantage point. Again, it's all up here. That's where your heaviest snow is going to be. Just a touch through Bryan Head and the Arizona Snow Bowl. Just a touch. Here's my official forecast. Grand totals by the close of business on 12/7. So my numbers for the Wasatch have absolutely gone up. 10 to 20 inches there. High-end amounts, and I'll zoom into this, are obviously going to be in Little and Big Cottonwood Canyons. Even Snow Basin, though. Thinking 16, 17 inches, something like that, maybe even 18 inches. 2s and 3s down to the south. Nothing through California. Too dry, out of the pattern. 10 to 20 inches up here in the Pacific Northwest. 6 to 12 inches up here through interior BC, running down in the Marmot Basin. And then you start to get into the bullseyes. 1 to 2 feet, Montana. 1 to 2 feet, central to northern Idaho. 2 feet, Grand Targhee, Jackson Hole. Let's zoom into Colorado. 1 to 2 feet. Grand totals by the close of business on 12/7. 1 to 2 feet, central and northern mountains. So you're looking at Aspen snowmass, Crested Butte, 13, 14, 15, 16 inches. I've got over a foot for Loveland, A Basin, Summit County, Vail, Copper, Winter Park, Eldora, Cameron Pass. High point is up here around Steamboat, Buffalo Pass, Mount Werner, which we talked about earlier, the Flat Tops, Mount Zirkle. Those areas are probably going to be going 18 to 24. With this type of northwest flow, that's what you tend to get. It tends to drive that snow into those pockets. So it's possible, if we continue to see the pattern maximize and the cold air stays in place, that some of these numbers may go up. It's not out of the question. They may go up. Less in southern Colorado, 6 to 8 inches, maybe 6 to 10 through a lot of the San Juans. The San Grita Cristos, a lot of your snow comes on Wednesday, and certainly 6 to 10 inches, not out of the question if you're curious. Let's zoom into the Wasatch. So 10 to 20 inches, again, grand totals by late 12/7. The 18, 19, 20 inch amounts are in Little, and then certainly up in a Big Cottonwood, and then off the I-80 corridor, Park City, Deer Valley, looking at 10 to 12 inches. And I mentioned up the street here, up by 15, you've got Snow Basin, Powder Mountain. Those areas, again, 16 to 18 inches is what I would think, is what I would guess. Less down at Sundance, and then clearly less as you go south into southern Utah. Up in the northeast, you've got some snow accumulation here. And like I said yesterday, a lot of it is in the 4 to 8 inch zone. You've got at least one coastal low that spreads a lot of snow close to the coast. And then you still have, it looks like, a tiny bit of lake effect off Erie, Michigan, and Ontario. So here's my official forecast. By late 12/7, 4 to 8 inches, I think, takes care of most of the northeast. 7 at Mount Snow, Wachusett. That's probably the most. Ragged, Mount Washington. Everybody's really in that 4 to 8 inch zone. All right, guys, we'll end on the big western map here. I'm really excited about this period. Again, it's probably going to be the biggest that we've seen so far. I don't think there's going to be any question. This is when I think we'll really build the bases. We've got the cold air. We're going to have this northwest flow with several ripples running along it and feet of accumulation. So stay with me. I got excited yesterday and almost wanted to do an afternoon update. But as we move forward in this, I might start doing some afternoon updates. So take care and appreciate you tuning in here, and have a great day.